Okay.
1 second. Okay. Oops. So I guess all of you can see my screen.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'll do the honors of starting the session and then I'll hand it over to you. Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to everyone who's joined us here from the Middle East region, and a good day to our guests from other parts of the world. Thank you for joining us. Please note that this session is being recorded for members who have unfortunately not been able to attend. I am Coach Anjana Lumba, Education and Programming Chair of ICF Oman Chapter, and your host for today's session, Beyond the Doing, Cultivating the Coaching Presence That Heals. It's time for me now to introduce our speaker, Namita Malhotra, who is based in UAE, so not very far from us. Founder of the Mindful Mentoring, Coach Namita Malhotra is a certified career and life coach with over 4 years of full-time coaching experience, working primarily with high-performing women navigating personal and professional transitions. She also serves as a mentor with the prestigious Emirati Women Chapter, an initiative by Pure Health, where she has the opportunity to coach and support Emirati women from diverse professional backgrounds. She is fondly called the calm coach because that's what her clients experience after working with her. To her merit, she created the Calm Code, a framework that helps individuals realign with their values, release inner anxiety, and lead from a place of clarity and courage. Over to you, Namita.
Oh, just give me a moment. I think something went off with my screen. And yeah. Thank you so much, Anjana, for that warm welcome and introduction. Good evening and assalamu alaikum to everybody here. It's a privilege and an honor to be amongst all you beautiful souls and amazing coaches to be as well, Justina. So thank you so much for joining us today. And my topic today is Beyond the Doing, coaching, cultivating a coaching presence that heals. And before we move forward, I'd like to hear from a few of you. What do you think coaching presence really means to you? And how do you think it connects to healing? You can unmute yourself, or you can, raise your hand, and I'm sure we can, or if you wish to, you could send us a message on the chat. Yes, Benita, please go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, I'll say coaching presence is being in the moment, and it's connected to healing, because when I'm in the moment, and I keep my stuff out of that moment, my stuff.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Or one more answer would be great to just see how we differently perceive things in that way.
For me, it's just one word, being. So loved what Benita said, and I couldn't go beyond the word being. So maybe that's what it is.
Thank you. And that's what today we're going to be talking about. I think for most of us, I'm assuming here, and yet just coming out of my experience, is we've all been into that space of doing and then experienced and understood that, it's not so much about doing as much as about just being. Because when we're being in that state of being, the doing just becomes effortless. So before we go dive deeper into it, I would like to invite you to just take a deep breath And for 45 seconds, I'm going to put a timer here on my phone so that I can say, yes, we can connect back just for 45 seconds. If you were to notice your body, whatever shows up, we can talk about it then. So I'm just putting the timer here. And we start now. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Anybody who wishes to share anything? The more we share is the more we're going to get out of this session, because it's all about being. Yes, Badria, please go ahead, please share.
For me, presence, when we practice it now, it means that you are just aware of whatever's going inside and what is going outside of you, your feelings, what you are listening outside or inside. So it's a deep connection with yourself and with the others to see what is going on.
Thank you for sharing. Yes. Anybody else?
So for me, it was kind of relief, and I felt that I do not need to do at this moment. So as you, Badria, yes, said that this is the presence that I am connected with myself, and I am able now to feel the moment and be grateful for that, because a minute ago it was like something else. So it did a huge change in my perception and in my body. So I feel much better now.
Thank you, Justina, and thank you, Badria, for sharing that. And, we had just paused for only 45 seconds, just 45 seconds. And in those 45 seconds, it's profound that both of you mentioned how you felt connected to yourself and to outside. And Justina also said it was such a relief. And the word relief itself is a starting point of that healing, whatever it may be. It does not necessarily, when we use the word healing, many a times generalizing, the thing is that what comes to mind and, what we've been used to is as if it's something big and we're talking about therapy, or we're talking about a major shift or physical healing of any sort. Just some mental relaxation by just being present is enough to provide us that relief, that comfort, that connection with self and body. Because we're constantly thinking, we are thinkers, we are thinking beings, we have an active mind and intellect, and that keeps us. And through our senses, we're forever engaging on the outside, because our senses are all outward. All our sensory organs, we hear, we see, we touch and feel through the skin, we smell, everything is on the outside. And when we're focused on the outside, making decisions which are core, aligned to the core self, kind of become difficult in the moment because there's too much happening in the mind, and which is why it's all about the pause in the moment. Just being there, just being present is what causes healing. Presence is the greatest gift we can offer another human being. And based on the ICF core competencies, competency number 2 itself says, embodying a coaching mindset, right? So coaching mindset, as the definition says, is a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. So when we pause and when we allow ourselves also to be, it allows the client to mirror that. And we do not have to do anything. Like initially when Justina was sharing, while we were just asking for introductions, she knows what she's doing. She knows what the path that she's chosen, her reasons, her why, everything. I'm sure she knows. And then it's not like all the time she's looking for an advice or something or a response. Just silence is the greatest response, where a person feels heard, seen, and valued for whatever they are saying, right? There's so much gravity in that moment when a person can feel safe and feel that, what they're saying is valued. So, with that, even core competency number 4 and 5 are all about presence. So, which is why I think this is a great topic for us to understand how we can embody that and how we can attune ourselves to be present for the client to actually feel that relief when they move out of a session. So the objective for today's workshops are just for us to deepen awareness of presence. And my role this evening is just to be able to facilitate that, how you guys can recognize presence as an active healing state, distinct from doing, how we explore how mindful silence and stillness is a bond, a glue that, strengthens the coaching relationship between the client and the coach. And to strengthen the capacity to hold space, support coaches in cultivating the skill of holding safe, non-judgmental, absolutely safe, where the client is seen, heard, and accepted, so that they can easily allow for transformation to emerge effortlessly and without our need to fix or drive any outcome. Because another core competency and another core ideology of ICF is that our coaching sessions are more client-centered. It's not about me as a coach or the outcome that I think or suppose should be or is to be gained out of or derived out of any coaching session. It's for with the intention and benefit of the client, that we allow the client to set the intention and just share what is it that they wish as an outcome. Although at the beginning of the session, we always set an outcome and we kind of try to track, because that's a way of measuring progress. And yet, holding space for the client relieves us from the responsibility of being the doer to facilitate that outcome. It just becomes effortless because we all know the answers are just all within. Practices for embodying coaching presence. So I'll just share a couple of strategies that I have found helpful, that we can all build on and move from, doing to being, and with not doing and expand our ability to co-create a healing coaching partnership. If you're still wondering why that is important, it is because what we do matters. And I'm sure you'll all agree to that. I'm sure you have hundreds of stories with years of experience that you have behind you of how you've seen the change. I have been in the coaching space for 4 years now, and I know uh, it brings me immense joy to see when a client has an insight, or when they overcome their own imaginary fears or whatever they're feeling, when they're feeling their thinking and they kind of become aware of it. We all know that what we do matters. And more often than not, it happens then. I mean, I am guilty of it too. I will say I have been there. And so I know uh, as new coaches, we're so focused onto, trying or building on our own skills as coaches, because we've just learned things. So we also tend to focus on doing and, more focused on tools, techniques, outcomes. I remember it was like that for me also when I began. And it's all a learning curve. We all go through that journey, and that's fair. Meeting the client's need is why this is also important, because it's for the client that we are there. And so just holding space is what our role really is in the session. Honoring the partnership by listening deeply, sensing beyond words, and allowing silence. If you have any questions at this point, anything that anybody wants to share, you could raise your hand and we can go on. We don't necessarily have to wait right until the end. If a thought comes up, please feel free to raise your hand.
Namita, not a question really, but what we can see is the normal view. Perhaps you might want to move it to
Oh, I'm
slideshow.
so sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Not
pointing
at all.
out.
Not at all. All right.
1 second. Okay, now in the moment, I can't really think of where. Okay, here it is. And
The presenter view.
yeah.
This is fantastic. Thank you.
And thank you for pointing that out.
Not at all.
Thank you. So, well, that's why this is important. And just a few examples of, what doing versus being coaching is. And I'm sure all of you are aware of it. This is not something that I need to highlight here. And yet, just for the purpose of, as a reminder, I think I'm just bringing it up, when we're in that mode. And sometimes it happens to the best of us also, because we go from one session to the other, and it is possible. So a reminder I have found personally for myself also always helps. So, in doing kind of coaching, we're more focused on, okay, hearing the client, we all know we do. And yet, in my mind, I kind of begin to focus more on what is the next question that I should be asking so that, the client gets an insight. So I am already preparing when I'm being in that doing mode versus when I am in a being mode. In the being mode, I just focus on listening beyond words. And I will get into more about how we can practice that and how we can get the client to practice as well. Like, one of the great tips for being is, very simple, something, even as children, we were taught to convert a reaction to response is just count. And it always kind of brings you back. So ideally, what I practice is every time I'm listening to a client, before I share anything or reflect on it, or ask the next question, it is, I count from 1 to 5 gently so that I have processed everything that I've just heard and I can put it across, whether it is summarizing, whether it is, just for the client to hear again, because summarizing is a great part of ICF coaching as well. So I just kind of then count to 5, or, silently in my mind, or take just 3 deep breaths. Because when we take deep breaths, it just brings attention back to the body, to the being, rather than, focusing from the mind thinking. It just brings you back to the present. So that's one thing that I do, which I have found very helpful. The doing kind of coaching is more driven by outcomes. So the focus is always on, okay, this is the intention that we set in, this is what we have to achieve at the end of the session. So it becomes more like, from the coach's perspective, that the outcome needs to be achieved for the coach to say, okay, we've managed to cover, or, I've managed to deliver a successful session. Whereas on the other end, a being coach, when I don my being coach hat, it allows me to leave space for the client for self-reflection and allowing silence, allowing the time that it takes for the client to share, to process information, to hear their own words and reflect on that. While we all know the importance of it, that, ICF coaching says that, your sessions should begin on time, end on time. And for that, we all know that we could always give gentle reminders to the clients that, well, today we have this much time left. How would you best want to use it? So again, leaving the reins in the client's hand. And yet, because when you're present yourself, you will know how to allow space for silence and pace it out. In doing, or we're more focused on problem solving and fixing and quickly finding solutions, whereas being coaching says you just be. There is no need to, because it comes from a space where we consider a human being as a whole human being. The human beings are not broken. They're just feeling, they're thinking. So there is nothing to fix really, and solutions or answers, rather, they just show up and appear. When it's doing coaching, the focus is more on what do I say next? Because initially, I'm talking from my own personal experience that I would be like, I must sound like a good coach. And there is a point where I should prove that, I have learned and I can do and I'm good at what I do. And so it was all about what can I say next? Because, that will put me or appear as an intelligent or, good coach. So something that I should say. So the focus shifts from being fully present and holding that space for the client to what do I say next? Whereas with experience, I have realized that it's more about, just being present. The client in the moment just doesn't care. All they want, like you said, is to feel relief. All they want is to be heard. All they want is to be seen. They come to us because only after we've established that rapport and they feel and they know that this is a safe space where they can share. So they're just coming to unburden themselves. Sometimes we just don't need anything. We just want to be heard. In one of the ICF coaching weeks, I think about 2 years ago, I am not sure who it was, but it was one of the very old, experienced MCC coach. Unfortunately, I don't remember the gentleman's name. And he actually facilitated this session as a demo session for us, where he just put us in breakout rooms and said, okay, for 3 minutes, one person just speaks and the other, so we pretend role model, and we're going to do something similar today, where, one is the coach, one is the client, and the client just speaks with the coach saying nothing at all. Nothing, no yes, no nods, nothing. And after that, I also learned that this is a great healing modality where you just hear without saying anything. And trust me,
کوچه اول
I've
شیبش خیلی زیاده اگر اوکی اگر نه یه 500 جلوتر هم هست.
Ali, can I request you to please go on mute? Ali, can I request you to please go on mute? Thank you.
Thank you. So where one just, after you've spoken everything that you had to say, okay, there is a sense of great relief. And I'm not sure how many of you have heard of it, but this is becoming an increasingly common practice, where there are meetups where we invite people to just talk and just share without any advice being given. And if you go back and recollect, I'm sure all of us have some instances where we've been given advice or suggestions and they never resonate with us, because advice and suggestions come from the other person's experience, viewpoint, whatever. They may not resonate with us, and mostly they do not. Or even if we do and we follow through, sometimes we feel it doesn't work. So of course, the whole core essence of ICF coaching is that we are not here to advise, we are not here to suggest. And yet we've also learned that there are times when, we kind of build in our suggestion and our questions. Well, that's okay. It's for the coach to have that to hold that space, and need be use your own judgment to see what works best in that moment. And that also comes when we're in the being coaching rather than the doing coaching mode. What it means to hold space is presence. So it's just creating a safe, non-judgmental space where client feels heard, to accept that being an allowance of whatever the client's need is to express emotions without trying to fix it. And also, while that is there, it's also to accept what is showing up inside of you. Only when we are truly present and creating that connect, like Justina and Badria said, that in that moment, they were able to connect with themselves. So when you connect with yourself, it's only in that moment that you will be able to notice and acknowledge what the client is expressing and what is it bringing up or showing up inside of you. And then later, when you do your reflections, you could also ask, like, what happened then? What made me feel that way? And you will realize, like Dr. Muhiba said, right? Every coaching session is a learning session. And I truly resonate with that. I feel the same way. Every coaching session is a learning session for me, because something or the other I learn about myself. It's about deep listening to verbal and non-verbal communication. It's only when we're fully present that, we can catch all those non-verbal communications. And verbal also, So based on different researches, you'll find different numbers. If you Google this information somewhere on the internet. But the fact is that our human mind is incapable of processing all the information that we are receiving from our sensory organs. And it could go up to, 400 billion bits of data per second to processing only 4,000 bits of data. So because everything is outside. And so not necessarily that we are able to actually hear everything that is being said. So it's only by being totally present can we really tune into the verbal and nonverbal communication. And the fourth is witnessing. So with presence, we just witness the transformation emerge naturally, free from the need to validate. Sometimes you may notice, and in that moment, the client is still deep into reflection. It's beautiful to just be a witness to that rather than, in the middle asking them, oh, I see something there. Would you want to share? Would you want to talk? Trust me, when I remember in the early days, if I ever asked, the client would be, no, I think it's all right. I don't really. And the moment I have stopped asking, what does that bring up for you? Or, I see something or I'm sensing something there. Sometimes I do say it. It's not that I don't completely, but sometimes when we just leave them and the client has a deep insight, they have this urge to share. So they just willingly, openly, because they feel so hurt, they'll want to share everything. So, in my experience, the lesser I'm doing, the more I'm being, the more effective the sessions turn out to be. If at this moment I were to ask you all to just take a few seconds to reflect on what does holding space look like for you from your experience. We could take 30 seconds, 40 seconds to reflect on that and then share our reflections. Anybody after you have. So I'll again put a timer on so that we can just reflect on it for 40 seconds. Is anyone ready to share a reflection? Anyone? Yes, Benita, go for it.
So I'm going to say it's exactly what we're doing. It's holding silence.
Yes.
Although I don't think we meant to create this holding space. That is actually what we're doing by being silent.
Thank you. And so, like I said, it's not necessary. Your reflections are for yourselves. I'm sure you will gain out of it if you deeply reflect. And it's not for me to really know, but just for, because we're in a learning session for everybody to gain and benefit out of it is what I asked. And I'm just reminded of this, quote by Ram Dass, which said, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. And if you're aware of what scientists these days are calling TPM, right? So, which stands for thoughts per minute. So, when we quieten or reduce that TPM is when clarity shows up more. Again, just from generalized this thing experiences, I'm saying, like, we've had moments where, oh, we've rushed out of the house and then realized that, oh, I forgot my phone, or I forgot my keys, or I've left something back that I needed to carry. It's because at that point, TPM, thoughts per minute, were too high. And so, I miss out on certain things not being present. So it's a good thing to just kind of practice a couple of techniques to reduce that TPM. And the more quieter we become, the more we hear. And a couple of things that I have found useful is, of course, just always getting back to breath and noticing, or just mindfully being present, because it immediately turns the conscious mind running around in those thoughts and reduces the TPM, bringing us back to the body. So every time that we connect back to the body and become present, it just quietens it. So if I invite you now to just notice and acknowledge, like, just become fully present to your body and notice the weight of your body on the chair that you're sitting, or notice how your feet, where they're placed, whether they're touching the ground, they're on the chair. Just notice if your shoulders are relaxed. Notice, are you breathing deeply right up to the stomach, or is it shallow? This is just to understand how there is so much happening in the body, outside, everything, that because we are focusing on certain things, we are not able to be present with everything. And that is why getting back, returning back to the body again and again helps. And also, of course, somatic check-ins. By that, what I mean is, somatic check-ins are always more about where in the body, what am I feeling? So the moment, you just run a quick check from head to toe, or from toe to head, whatever works. Close your eyes and be present and run a check, and just acknowledge, notice if there is any kind of tingling, any sensation in the body, anything that shows up. And then ask yourself, what is this about? What is it trying to tell me? And if you stay there long enough, or develop that practice, your body will begin to talk to you, and it'll share, it'll answer back. Anybody wanting to share? I can still see Anjana, Justina with eyes closed and just being mindful of the time today. I wanted to ask anything that showed up, anybody willing to share? If not, can I request, Anjana, that we can use breakout rooms so that people can get a true experience of what just holding space and presence means. So what we're going to do is we can put 3 people in one breakout room where one is going to be the coach, one is going to be a client, and we're going to do a mini role play, and the third one is the observer. So the coach is going to, for 1 minute, 30 seconds, which means 90 seconds, be the doing coach. And where the client says something and you ask them a question and it follows. The second time, for another 90 seconds, a minute and a half, or we could do 2 minutes each. I think we do have enough time for, we're at 7:52, so we do have time. We could use 4 minutes for this exercise where we go into breakout rooms and there is a coach, there is a client, you can volunteer, and there is an observer, okay? And the coach first dons the hat of a doing coach, where the client shares something and you ask them a question and lead them to the next. And after 2 minutes, you stop and then you go into the being mode where you're saying nothing. Just let the client talk. And the observer is just observing. And when we come back out of the breakout rooms, I'd like to then actually get back to hearing from you how the experience was for the observer, for the client, for the coach, all 3 roles. What happened and how did that feel? Can we do that, please?
So Namita, you want total time?
Total time is 4 minutes for the breakout rooms.
Okay.
And 3 people in a breakout room. How many of us are there currently?
Yeah, got that. Okay. Now opening the rooms.
And you could, in your own groups, volunteer, 1 coach, 1 client, 1 observer. And the observer can take down notes.
Sure. Sending you to your rooms.
Everyone is smiling.
Come back.
Please share.
I shared it directly with the speaker because we were only left.
So how about you sharing when you suddenly realized that I wasn't saying anything and you pointed out, oh, so I'm speaking and you're listening. How was that for you? How about you go and
I was talking to myself. I was because the other person was so silent, and I just felt that I'm talking to myself, both sides. I'm just saying what is working, what is not working, and then suddenly, sometime going back and saying, but no, how do I do this? How do I do? So I'm talking to myself, and I'm just not thinking about anything, anyone at all. I'm just focusing on um, what is going through my mind. And the listener was just quiet, listening, just letting me be.
So how did it make you feel in that moment, the moment when you realized that I am just talking and, the other person is just listening?
It just makes you feel that you can share anything you can voice your thoughts openly without any fear of being judged.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody, I mean, you guys were into breakout rooms, so I'm assuming like from the people who are left here with us, 2 rooms. So the observer, the coach, the client, anybody wants to share something?
So in my role, if I can, I was an observer, and what I noticed, because we did not make the being part, just only doing, which was great. And we think that 2 minutes, it's, like nothing, because we could not make any deeper discussions on that. But what I noticed, let me just look into my notes. So it was more in thinking more mode rather than emotions, more in mind, a bit stressful for the client. And also the client planned to relax, trust the process, hope. So everything was in like thinking rather than emotions and, being. So it was like missed, I think, from my perspective.
Thank you. So are you saying that you only could do one? Was the breakout room for 4 minutes? Because we also felt that it went fast. So was it that you were only able to test out one way of doing things? Okay, so can we just do another 2 minutes for them, please, so that they can experience that being? And then only they'll be able to see the difference. So ideally, this exercise is not complete unless we do both. We cannot hear you because you're on mute.
I think Dr. Mahiba was in room with
Badriya and Benita. That I mean, should I say more? Where should I go? What is it? And it seems that the questions come from me rather than from them. Just share this.
Thank you for sharing. And that's the beauty of it, like you said, uh, it was questions coming in from your own self, right? And then obviously the answers are there, the questions are there. It is so beautiful. It's like what to say next. Something, a thought appears. There is, like Anjana said earlier, no fear of judgment because you already know this is a safe space. And again, nobody's asking you anything, nobody's questioning anything immediately out of whatever you say, right? So it just allows you that space to explore your inner self even more.
Yes.
I see Fatima nodding. So, Fatima, please share something.
Uh, Once we go to the other rule that she's listening to me, I start talking. As Badriya said, I'm doing all the question in my mind. I'm replying myself back. And I guess I became more emotional. So, yeah. I guess that's why from the beginning I believe that I love to go to sit with my coach and talk because he always listen to me. And sometimes that's what we need, someone to listen to us.
Absolutely, because you're a wonderful human being and everybody else and all of us are. And it's just that there is nothing broken, there is nothing there to fix. So when we feel comfortable enough to be just present in somebody else's presence where we feel safe to explore, our smile is broader this time. So I'm assuming, whenever you're ready to share, it just allows you to get in touch with your own emotions faster, quicker, and deeper. So Justina, would you like to share now what was different this time from the doing to the being?
Yes, of course. It was like huge change. As you, Fatma, said, it was like, for me, emotions are the most important part of the coaching. And I believe I will be great in that. And also when I was hearing what Fatma was saying, it was like about myself, and I am in a similar, position in my life as Fatma. So it was like all about me, and all the emotions, went out, and it was great. Jenny also asked the first question. It was like talking and talking. Yeah, it was great. I feel much better now than before. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else who wants to share their experience? Yes, Dr. Mohiba, we'd love to hear you.
Yeah, as a silent coach, because I was the observer, then the silent coach, I loved being a silent coach. And it has reminded me of what we are all the time reminded of. Don't talk, let the other talk. And when I stopped for good, I could hear everything. And it was a peaceful moment for the coach. For the coach, I could grasp everything that normally would be polluted by any of my response. So I loved being the silent coach, which is what we are eager to do at the end of the day. You notice master coaches tend to talk little. And at the beginning, we are the talkative one more than the client. As for my intrigue is for Badria and for anyone who went through two of them, because I could feel some sort of awkwardness in Badria. She kept saying, am I not sort of ridiculous talking to myself? And she was not that easy as she was at the beginning. So my question is to those of us who have been coached by a silent coach, what sort of experience is it really? Deep down, in depth, what is it? How different is it?
Fatima said she's had her coach, just hear her out. I'm not sure about anybody else, but I can share from my experience if you would want to. Both as a client and as a coach, it is a huge sense of relief. As a client, it makes me feel even more comfortable. In the beginning, it is kind of a little awkward because we're so used to it. And we also have this perceived notion of, when I'm going to a coach, probably I'll get some kind of advice, or, the coach is going to ask me some questions. So there is a preconceived image in the mind that, okay, this is what I expect out of a session. The moment I release that and become comfortable with talking, and if you could actually try this out. I have tried it out, where we hold space for each other for 15 minutes, with one being absolutely silent, coach, and even at the end, the coach says nothing except just thank you for sharing. Trust me, that's the most profound experience that I have had, where I have felt heard, seen, not judged, because nobody's asking me, nobody's questioning me anything. And it's only, like Fatima said, the questions are within and the answers are also within. So I just share and then let go. And as a coach, it's a huge relief because I don't have to prepare for the session. I don't have to do anything. I just have to be present. And how does it get better than that? There's nothing for me to do. So I will go back to sharing my presentation so that we quickly go through this. Just have a little something to show you that, as Anjana had shared in her introduction. So I found something, I also, like I said in the beginning, I was a doing coach, wanted to act smart, be there, and somehow this led me to creating this deck of cards, which I call the Calm Code. And it's based on the 4 pillars of calm, which is center, align, liberate, and then move. So at the beginning of each journey is what I just ask a question based on, okay, ground the client and then ask them, how they're feeling in their body, what is shifting, whatever, and then allow them to just talk. And then the next is to question about, what is feeling not aligned with their values or, their inner compass, bringing that to their awareness, and then, asking them what is that one core belief or emotion that they felt, even if it is through silent coaching, that so you can either give this framework for self-reflection or use it like that, saying, how it helped or liberating, what would be that one belief if you let go of, or that emotion, how could you let go of that so that you can take the next mindful movement ahead, one action, one response, one step forward. And that's just a little off. And it is just pure coaching the ICF way, because I'm also an NLP coach. So there's nothing that goes in here except just simple coaching. And so how could you, use this framework in your own coaching? You can ask yourself that question. Is just on 4 simple pillars. You could use each one of them in one session or all 4 in one session, pick up one, and either way it works. Now, the challenges that we face as coaches sometimes is because we go into a session thinking there is need to fix something, prove value. We fear silence, like Badria said, and like Dr. Muhiba pointed out, in the beginning, it's uncomfortable sometimes. So, there is a fear of silence because we are not used to it. And because in silence, a lot can show up. And sometimes, we are all putting our feelings and emotions under the carpet and leaving them there to deal with it whenever, later. So that later never happens, and sometimes it can show up. Over identification with the client's pain, like Justina said, I could feel, I felt like it was a mirror. Fatima and I are in the same situation or stage of life or whatever, so she could deeply resonate with the client's emotions. And so that is something, it's a challenge when you're a coach, because you need to disassociate and hold yourself completely present to say, it's not about me, it's about the client. The balancing empathy and boundaries, so, and then of course, sometimes time constraint, like we said, our sessions are timed and we must finish them on time. So sometimes that also becomes a challenge. And yet there are some practical strategies. As I promised, you walk away with these at the end of the session. So, at the beginning, you could ask the client to ground themselves through a body scan, and you could do one just before you receive the client. Just check, notice, acknowledge whatever there is in whatever your body is trying to tell you. If you notice a certain stiffness, is there some kind of stress? Are you thinking about the session, or are you over evaluating, or are you carrying something from the past session, past day, whatever it could be? Taking 3 conscious breaths, beginning, before, during, in between. Every time I have felt bringing back attention to breath brings me back to the present, and I'm not thinking of what next to ask, what to do, how to respond. Relieves me of all that. So it just brings me to the present. Pausing instead of rushing to the present. So you could always use the counter, an inner countdown of count till 5, count till 6, whatever works for you, and then respond. You could also do a self-check-in from time to time in between the session to ask yourself, am I doing or am I being right now? And this is one question that I would leave you with. What's one practice you will take away to bring more presence into your coaching this week? Out of these, which is something that you can immediately begin to apply, which one would it be? It could be different for different people because we are all unique. So you could just pick one and experiment with it. You could take a screenshot, you could do whatever feels good for you as a memory, take a picture, write down whatever works for you. And it's just that, there's a profound impact that's created when we are just being present, because transformations then just emerge, and presence is not about doing more, but about being more fully here. That is the healing gift we offer as coaches. These are some questions, in fact, just 3 questions for you to take back and reflect on after the session. And I would do the same. As coaches, we always, make time to reflect on any session that we conduct. So when have I felt most comfortable with silence or least comfortable? You could ask yourself, how do I know when I shifted from being to doing? This is probably, you can reflect after you've practiced it. And what practices help me sustain presence during challenging sessions? So you could probably experiment with a few of those practices that I shared before. And then, these are a few questions you could ask yourself from time to time. And again, you could take a screenshot, you could take a picture, you could write them down, whatever works for you, feel free to do that. And with that, we come to the end of my presentation, where I leave room for you to ask any questions, share your insights, or whatever you want. And these are the QR codes to connecting with me should you wish to. You don't have to, only should you want to, wish to. Please feel free to connect with me, either on LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, Instagram. I don't very actively engage with. LinkedIn is where I'm mostly present. I will respond. I'll share to the best of my ability with whatever I have learned. And just in the end, that I would love to leave you with is a quote from it's from an unknown person. So, in the presence of one who's deeply present, others find themselves returning home, like Fatima had shared. So I'll repeat, in the presence of one who is deeply present, others find themselves returning home. And with that, thank you so much for your presence here today, your time at the end of the day. I truly, truly appreciate you. And thank you, Anjana, for having me over. Open to all of you for questions.
Thank you, Namita. I have 2 more things to do before we close the session. One is to smile for Fatima, who wants to take a pic for our social media. So whenever you tell us, Fatima, we'll be ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Fatima. I'm going to take one for my reference too. So thank you all. It was an honest pleasure to be here. To hear you, Badria, Fatima, Justina, Dr. Muhiba, your presence, everybody, Benita, Jenny, it made all the difference to this session today.
Namita, I have Badria, who is the Vice President of ICF Oman chapter, and I'd request her to give the vote of thanks, please.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anjana, for doing all this job, Fatma, whatever, or everybody who is here, who is attending. Always we think that we will not learn a new thing from the same word. But I think today we've learned that presence, and we live it, we practice it, and maybe we go deeper than we could understand before. So thank you for it. We learned also about the Calm code. It was also new and very creative from you to put this in cards, and I hope everybody will use it. And thank you all for being here. ICF Oman is very happy to share those kind of presentations and webinars with you all. Hope you will attend in the next webinars as well. Back to you, Anjina. Thank you
so much. The only thing left for me to say is thank you everyone for being here, and hope to see you again. Our next webinar is on 10th of September, and we also have an in-person event coming up on 30th of August, which is a bowling event. So hope to see you, whoever is in town. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. And as we have
Thank
to,
you.
anybody who has last words to say, anybody who wants to share about their experience, happy to hear about it. We have another minute to go. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.